So back at the old day, because I always feed everybody in the neighborhood, I will talk to my neighbors about food, and when they talk, we love chicken curries, I will go to the market, get the ingredients, and make it for them. So I've been feeding everybody in the neighborhood for like 9 years.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Today on the show, we are talking fall cookbooks with two terrific authors. Nok Suntaranon of Kalaya in Philadelphia. She's the author of Kalaya's Southern Thai Kitchen. I also have a conversation with Caroline Choe, author of Banchan. These are terrific books from this busy fall season, and I hope you enjoy these conversations. Nok Suntaranon, welcome to This is Taste. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm really happy to see you. We're going to talk about Philadelphia.
Let's talk about Philadelphia.
What's good in your home city right now? Where do you go out when you're not working at Kalaya, your absolutely spectacular restaurant?
Okay, what good in Philadelphia is everything.
Right.
I can't tell you what make it good, but mostly I would say people, community that make Philadelphia very different. It's very real. It's a small city in a big city. Philly is quite large, but in each neighborhood is a beautiful community. And the good thing about Philly is wherever you turn, you find good restaurant, good coffee shop, and that's what makes Philly very special.
Wholly agree. It
Yes.
feels very small, like you can get around, but of course there's lots of interesting restaurants from all over
Yes.
the world there.
Yeah, and people are really cool, really fun. So that's what I love
Really
about
cool.
Philly.
Shout out to my friend John Nair, and I've been going there for years and years and staying in East Passyunk. And I'd like to before we get to your book, Kalaya's Southern Thai Kitchen, I want to hear a little bit about visiting Philadelphia as a tourist. New York gets hit. DC gets hit. There's that city right there in the middle that needs to be visited. Why?
I think because, back at the old day, Philly have the reputation of a lot of violence and crime, which, we still have that reputation. But, it's just like another city in America or another city, any city in this world. There's crime. There's some unpleasantry about, but when you talk about what good we have to offer, we have plenty. And we've been overlooked, but I think for the past few years, Philly really shined in food world. We are thriving, and I think we're just getting started. We have a lot of underrepresented chef, diversified cuisine. It's such an amazing place to visit. There's everything for everybody. Children can go to Please Touch Museum,
Mm-hmm.
Franklin Institute. Adult can go to the Barnes. Philadelphia Art Museum have amazing collection, lots of good galleries, a lot of good restaurants, and, one fabulous Thai chef that cooking Thai food, and she's writing a cookbook.
And she's right here in our studio today, and we're talking about the cookbook, Kalaya's Southern Thai Kitchen. And Kalaya is your mom.
Yes, I named the restaurant after my mother, and it's funny when I found a space, I was thinking like, what would be the best name? And it's just like everything is about me, about my mother, and for me, Steve, my husband, told me that why he loved me so much because I'm very self-centered. Everything is about me, 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 me. So I said, okay, this time I'm not going to make it about myself. I'll make it about my mother so I can talk about her every day. And it's the love letter that I have for her. It's the memories because I left home at the age of 15. So I never grew up with my family. But I still cherish that feeling, from the age of, from when I was young until 15 that I left home.
It's a remarkable story, and I've read a lot of the book, and of course, the recipes as well. But let's talk more about the story. At age 5, you start helping your mom out at the market that she was cooking at. You were like lugging bags of was it like sugar or rice?
No, it's shrimp paste.
Shrimp paste, that's what it was.
When I was young, it's more often, between 5 to 7, it's more about learning how to give people change, getting the coins from the till and steal some, put some in the pocket, little coins. Hope mom did not see. So, we learn how to, give change to people. We learn how to bag things, like they buy eggs. We can put the eggs in the bag and give it to them. And, that's what I learned. But when she started her curry paste business, that's when we start helping her peeling the garlic, all the ingredients, getting her mise en place ready, because we prep today, and then the next day we have the nanny. She will start pounding the curry paste by hands.
Yeah.
That's how my mother started her business.
So it starts in a market, and the curry paste is a foundational element of the cooking there.
Yes.
And you're growing up in this market, and you're working hard. It's hard work, and eventually you move on and get a job, right?
Yes.
And that takes you out of Thailand. What is that job?
So I was a flight attendant. I started with Kuwait Airways in 1991. Right after Iraqi invasion was over, I moved to Kuwait. So I live in Middle East. And that's when, I really start cooking Thai food, because, we live in the apartment, and we all have we turn one apartment into our canteen that we all share the kitchen. We cook for each other.
These are all the flight attendants.
These are the Thai flight attendants.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're living in Kuwait, and a remarkable little nugget of bio is that while you're flying around the world as a flight attendant, you're helping run an Italian restaurant too?
That's when I moved back to Thailand.
Oh, I see.
And I got married to my ex-husband. He is Italian that come from Adelaide, Australia. We opened a small, successful Italian restaurant together. So I was a flight attendant. I helped him run Italian restaurant, and I also have a small jewelry business that I help my friend. We run it together. So I worked 3 jobs at the same time, because the restaurant was not doing very well, and you know how hard it is to make it happen.
Nearly impossible.
So it's nearly impossible. I did not think that I gonna make it. So the other job is help me, help keep the restaurant going.
When do you first visit the United States?
1992 with Kuwait Airways. I came to New York.
What's that first visit to New York? We're recording this in New York right now, and what's it like when you first land in New York for the first time?
Buildings, why are they so tall?
Yeah.
Yes, we stay at, I think now it's Radisson, Lexington Avenue.
Yeah.
It's just like, and what is the word kosher mean? What is daily?
Yeah.
Why they're everywhere? Yeah. And why the portion are so big? Everything is just like, once I remember I ordered roast beef, and it's just like, is it what people eating? The stack of pancakes.
Yeah, stacks of pancakes.
High stack of pancakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the impression when I first landed in New York.
I'm going to fast forward, and I'm going to move to Philly, and you decide that you want to open a restaurant, but you start small. You start at 30 seats.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kalaya in its earliest days. What style of cooking were you doing, and what was the general vibe like of this restaurant?
Yes, so open the restaurant is never part of the plan. I was looking for a small kitchen that I could run my catering business, because I want some small business that I can close whenever I want and travel. My life goal is very shallow. I'm happy with my housewife title.
Yeah.
Even so many people tell me I need to say I'm a homemaker. I don't see the difference, but I enjoy my housewife title and being a write-off for my husband.
Tax write-off. I
like that one a little better. Yeah, I love that. But then I was looking for the restaurant space, the catering kitchen space. I cannot find anything I like until I found this restaurant, the one on 9th Street, the first Kalaya. I was love at first sight. And I signed a check for the first month rent without thinking. I just told the landlord, this is just, I want to have skin in the game. I want to show him that I really want to do it. But I still have to run it by my husband first. And I don't know whether this is going to happen, but he can hold on to this check. And, so when Steve come home, I told him I want to do it. He said no, but, long story short, 6 years now, we here. So
All right, so let's back up. So you're like, I want to do this 30-seat catering kitchen. Well, a 30-seat restaurant that was a catering kitchen to begin with. Your husband says no.
yes.
But you're persuasive. What's the market like? Are you cooking for Philadelphia catering clients at that time?
So back at the old day, because I always feed everybody in the neighborhood, I will talk to my neighbors about food, and when they talk, we love chicken curries, I will go to the market, get the ingredients, and make it for them. So I've been feeding everybody in the neighborhood for like 9 years.
Wow.
I didn't want to run for mayor. So
so you're like, next best thing is like a restaurant, a chef.
Yes, people start asking for my food and they want me to cater. And I've been doing that just like for fun. And then one day I was looking at last catering is 130 people.
Wow.
With croquembouche, with a lot of stuff. And I was like, this could get me in trouble. So I told Zip I need to stop. I need to find a real kitchen. But without thinking that I am going to open the restaurant. But there was something that I always think whenever I cook, or even, when I'm getting dressed or when I'm having my coffee, I'm always thinking about recipes. And when I thought about my recipes, I was like, if I make it this way, will people like it? And, it's just like that ideas just keep cooking in my head. If I never thought of restaurant. If I put 15 people at the table, cook the food the way I want to cook, the way we eat at home, would those 15 people will like it? And that's what I had in mind. Because Steve travel a lot, my husband, and whenever he's home, I always want him to eat at home and entertain at home. So we always have people coming to eat at our house. Dinner at my house is something that Wharton people want to come in, They want to get invited because they know it's always the best. So I've been making the food my way.
Yeah. So you knew you had a tested formula, that there was demand. You open a 30-seat restaurant, and what happens then? Because it seems that there's a rapid succession of events that leads to the Fishtown location, which you have now. So what happens to that 30-seat restaurant?
I think I baptized the whole Philadelphia food scene.
Yeah.
Everybody get baptized by Nok.
Yeah.
They were like, we reborn. So
well, it's no joking needed here. I mean, when you hit with like a Thai restaurant in a community, we've seen it in every market in America.
Yes.
Holy Basil in Los Angeles is doing this right now.
Yeah.
Like this restaurant downtown LA is like taking off in the hottest restaurant. There's something about the cuisine of your homeland that when it's good and when it like captures Korean restaurants, it doesn't happen with sushi, doesn't happen with Italian restaurants. What is this? What happened?
I think, people love to talk about how spicy Thai food is. And Thai food is not new to American market. But authentic Thai food is very new. Because this is the time that, back at the old day that people will move to from Thailand to America, they need a job. Open a Thai restaurant with a lot of hesitant. With hesitation that nobody going to come to the door. We have to cater to our client palette and all of that. But, that is the old story. Now, who can be more real? And that's the way to success. Just stay true to yourself, like how I did it. And I went all in. I never think about, I never worried about if I have to close the door, if I'm going to go out of business. Because at least if I have to close because nobody liked my food, at least I did it.
Yeah, at least you made it happen. All right. Yeah. So when you said something very, very interesting about how we all know certain tenets of Thai cuisine. Of course, pad Thai is the top, but many other dishes. But when you think about food of the South, you're adding heat and you're adding sour and you're adding some elements that maybe is outside. So maybe that's part of the success is when you start cooking with these familiar but not familiar flavors. What is the food of southern Thailand to you, and how do you delineate it from the rest of the country?
So, southern part of Thailand are the big melting pot of the culture. We have Malay, Indonesian, Indian, Pakistanis, Chinese,
Yeah.
even Portuguese. So, southern Thai food, each province are different. So let's talk about where I come from, Trang. And my food is very, very, very unique and very personal because I cook the way my family cook for me. I cook with my memories, like chicken curries and yellow sticky rice. That's the curry that I had when I was very young and got invited to my uncle's house at his housewarming party. Nobody ever cooked that chicken curries and sticky rice for me ever since. When I came to New York, I went to school. I went to culinary school, and that's when I started cooking. I formulated whatever I seen and experienced when I was young, and start working in my own kitchen, playing with ingredients. And so I would say my food is the memories. It's bright, it's bold, it's real, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, and what are the I know there's like of course the islands, right? Like Koh
Yes.
Samui, Phuket. You think about those islands, and then you've got the peninsula in the south. Is the island cuisine slightly different from the mainland cuisine?
Very, very, very different. Even me and my neighbors, my mother half Thai Chinese, and my neighbors, they're Thai.
Mhm.
The way they make curries are so different.
Wow.
Yes.
So there's a way
There's a
that
way.
blends the two
Yes.
cultures together.
Yes. Even nam prik, the shrimp paste relish,
Oh man.
the way my mother make it, the way that my neighbor next door make it, also different.
Listener, if you can ever find nam prik nam anywhere in this country and find it done in a way that Kalaya does it, there's nothing better. Nam prik is like one of those foods that you never forget it when you have it in the right way.
Yes. I would say, one restaurant that really impressed me about their nam prik is Crew in Brooklyn. Their nam prik almond is really good.
Interesting.
It's really good. Those guys are doing something very, very interesting. And at Kalaya, when we opened Kalaya, I told my partners, I want to introduce two things, lon and nam prik. Those are the relish and the side dishes.
Yeah.
Because, people are focused about curries and stir fry, but they forget about these two dishes that make the meal more complete, make it more complex. And this is why at Kalaya, when I opened the new restaurant, lon and nam prik always part of our menu, and we focus on that. Yeah.
Let's talk about the cookbook, which is inspired by the restaurant, which is now kind of hard to book, it seems. Can you get a table, or is it you have to know somebody?
I know someone who knows someone. So.
Okay. Well, you know someone who knows someone who knows someone now that you're listening to the show.
Yes.
All right. I mean, it's really popular and an amazing restaurant. As I've been told, I've not dined there myself, and it's on my list for this fall, but I have good friends who swear by it and love it. So let me ask you first, when you're getting these recipes down in this book, what's that like? It's your mother's recipes, it's your recipes. What's that like? What's the feeling like just writing it down like that?
It's real. I never been a good student. I hate writing. I hate documenting. I never document my own recipes. When I create some new recipe in the restaurant, I never look at a cookbook. It's always come up my head. This is how I want to do it. Yeah. And I write it down for my team. So what is like to write a cookbook and put the recipe together?
Impossible, probably.
It was a lot of fun because normally I'm all over the place. I'm very fast. I move fast. I'm a little bit of, organized but unorganized. But writing the cookbook with my co-author and my recipe editors, it was something that, I think it's the best part of me learning to put my thought together and work as a team. So I will gather the ingredients and then I will, my co-author and the editor once a week. They'll sit at the other side of my island. I have a very big kitchen
Mm-hmm.
and I'm standing in front of them with scale, with lots of measuring cup and all of that. And then the night before we are cooking, I start writing the ingredient list. And then we fill in the blank why I'm
While
cooking.
you're cooking, you actually, I
Yes.
love that method. I've
Yes.
used that myself. It's a
Yeah.
great method.
And the co-author is there to capture the dialogue. The recipe editor is there to document the recipes.
Yep.
And I have Mike Prince, my publicist, come in, my restaurant publicist, come in. So let's say, Kalaya is Take a Village. I'm not one woman show.
Mm-hmm.
I have Folklove helping me
Yep.
with my book. I have Mike Prince helping me with the restaurant. I have my co-author. I have my publishers.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is the team effort to make this happen. And it's a dream that, one woman could, get up and doing something at the age of 50. I started writing the cookbook when I was 54.
Wow.
And I don't think it's easy. I never think it's possible. I never thought that I will have a cookbook. But once, I could formulate my thought, I'm standing in front of my team, I know I'm in good hands. I know that I can do it because, I have Francis Lam. I have everybody. I have very strong support. This book gonna be amazing.
Yeah, Nok, I love hearing you share the credit for this work. I think it's understated in cookbooks how it does take a team. So I really appreciate you laying that out. Let's talk about the actual recipes in the book. I just want to say I paged through it and I dog-eared several, but I'd like to get from you maybe like 2 recipes that you really think our listeners should like turn to that feel good for you right now.
I would love for people to making a curry paste.
Yeah, I figured that'd be one.
Because curry paste is such a good building block. People get kind of threatened or insecure by how complex the curry paste could be. It's very easy nowadays because, the ingredients are super accessible. And for me, house-made curry paste is so different. Like if you pick one recipes, I would say the Kalaya house curry and make chicken curry and yellow sticky rice.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't want to make curry paste, buy a massaman curry paste from store and make massaman curry.
Yeah. Let me ask you, when you make your curry paste, which is a process, but you can store it, right?
Yes.
And so I'm pulling that out of my fridge. So like say I've spent that time on a weekend and made the curry paste and I have it for a couple months worth. How am I using that with like an easy weeknight scenario?
Okay. Normally when I make my own curry paste, I portion them like half a cup portion.
Yeah.
And weeknight, you can just boil some coconut milk, throw that curry paste in, add a little bit of shrimp paste, and you can add any vegetable. You can, season it with some palm sugar or brown sugar, soy sauce, fish sauce, add any kind of protein you want. The best way, like weeknight, I would say seafood or chicken because it doesn't take long.
Yeah, so you cook like some chicken thighs, boneless, you cut them up, maybe marinate in soy
Yes.
sauce. Cook that up quickly. You maybe have some bok choy, maybe have some broccoli. You could put it in a lot of different things.
You're hurting my feeling.
Is that just not that's not good?
No.
Yeah, correct
but
me.
I know people
No,
will
but
do
correct
it.
me because I love this. This is how we do it. This is me speaking, but like let's go be like, Matt, maybe not do this instead.
Matt, maybe you stir fry the bok choy.
Yeah.
And eat with chicken curries because, curry at home is the real. Okay, this is what makes Southern Thai curry different. So many Southern Thai curries, it's just protein, coconut milk, and curry paste, or protein, water, and curry paste, and shrimp paste. And then we have salted fish, we have stir-fry vegetable, we have vegetable that cook in coconut milk, which everything is in the book, in the cookbook.
Yeah.
And that's how you create your spread of Southern Thai table. you don't dump everything and cook all together because this is not soup.
No.
This is not a soup. This is not a stew. It's the curry.
Yeah.
And or we have, if you want to put some vegetables in the curry, there's a few recipes that I want you to try. Try the green curry.
Yeah, I love
You can
that.
put eggplant in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe masaman curry, there's potato. Exception about one thing that I think, people could modify is chicken curry that they can put potato and onion as well.
Yep.
And do the Kalaya curry powder and add it in there. That's another curry.
Yeah, another recipe in the book.
Yes,
the powder.
see, I'm giving away the recipe.
I mean, you got to buy the book, of course, and I'm gonna defend my honor. I when I said bok choy, I would certainly have sautéed it just to be clear. I wasn't just like gonna throw raw bok choy into a curry, but I digress. All right, one recipe that's away from like the stovetop, if it's like roasting,
the baked shrimp.
Let's go there.
กุ้งอบวุ้นเส้น กุ้งอบวุ้นเส้น I love it. And this is like the competition between me and my mother, and she won. Because
were you guys competitive?
She said her recipe is better. And yeah, her recipe was better because she have the evaporated milk. It's so easy that you throw everything in the pot, you close the lid, and 5 minutes later you have, and it's complete because, you have the glass noodles, you have shrimp, you have some Chinese celeries, you have some prawn in there, and you eat it with seafood sauce that you make like 2 days before. And it's in your fridge. And it's just ready. You have one steamed rice.
Yeah,
it's so good. And everything can be done within like, I would say less than 30 minutes.
I love it. Well, definitely, please. Kalaya's Southern Thai Kitchen is the cookbook. Got to pick it up or visit the restaurant, Kalaya. And
see Nok there. Say hi.
Yeah, Nok will be around. Knock on. This is Taste. We ask guests about the discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious. Taste check. Are you ready?
I born ready.
The best fruit.
Durian.
Okay. First time on the show I've heard that. Why do you like durian?
I love durian because durian is luxurious.
Yeah. And
durian is so delicious. It's soft. It's creamy. It's sweet. I love durian. Durian is the king of fruit.
And it has an adverse reaction to some people, right? Like there's a smell that maybe everyone's not used to, right?
Yes, but if you get the real good durian, they are amazing.
Of course. And some things
it's quality.
I agree. The worst vegetable.
Oh God, it's not a vegetable. It's a kind of small potato in the southern part of Thailand that I never like it. It's called man ki nu. It's tiny little potato. I eat all kind of vegetable. I love vegetable.
But this potato just doesn't do it for you.
No, not that one.
Fair enough. The best dessert.
Ooh, anything that Yasmin, my neighbor, make for me. Yes, I have next door neighbor and she loves baking and I bake her for a lot of stuff. Pavlovas especially, it's just so good.
I love a pavlova. That's what a nice neighbor and getting the shout out on the show.
Yes, we cook together a lot.
What's your favorite dessert in the cookbook?
In the cookbook, I love panna cotta.
Yes. So what's your version of it?
Coconut milk.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So what do you put on top?
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. So do you put anything on top
Mango
of it?
or pineapple. You can do with any kind of tropical fruit.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What about a frozen recipe that you might have? I think of like shaved ice and frozen.
Yes, but it's not in the cookbook. But shaved ice in the restaurant is a must. It's very ice catching. It's very fun to eat and it's super yummy.
Is there? Do you have one of those machines?
Yes, I have two.
Those machines are the best thing. They're like the snowy ice machines.
Yes, and then you soak it with a lot of yummy syrup, and then you hide something in the middle, and you top it with ice. You soak it again, and you put whatever I want on top because it's my restaurant. It's my recipes.
Whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
All right, so this is a big one. This is a big one. Your favorite Philadelphia restaurant to visit when you are not working.
Okay, can I have 3?
Absolutely, yes. 100%.
Okay. Fiori, if I want pasta for lunch.
Yeah.
Royal Izakaya and Omakase because it's around the corner. Machine shop.
Oh, machine shop is number 3.
The best. No, everything is number 1, but I cannot just...
Everything is number 1. There's 1A, 1B,
all of
1C.
them, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Visit Philly did not support or sponsor this podcast. This is an absolute off the grip.
God.
It's
We
such a good city.
should get the sponsorship.
Listen, I don't need money to just show my love for Philadelphia. It's such an easy town. I love it. Visit Philly. It's such a great city. I love it.
They did so much for us, yeah.
Your favorite cookbook of all time?
My cookbook.
Fair enough. All right. So if you have your cookbook, the best cookbook, your favorite cookbook of all time, what is the first recipe you're going to cook from?
Chicken curry.
Really? So chicken curry, what is the curry?
Chicken curry is the coconut milk curry.
Coconut
milk based curry. It's thick. It's delicious. It doesn't take long to make. And that's the recipes that I was cooking very often. Yes, it's my go-to recipes.
Have you ever run up the stairs from the film Rocky just to do it?
I can barely walk.
You see me walking okay to me?
Beautiful women don't run. We glide. We float.
Absolutely. What do you think of that film?
Oh, I think it's very Philly. And I would never run.
No, you're not. No, up the stairs. All right. A few more. A cuisine you would like to learn more about?
I want to learn more about Vietnamese,
Yeah,
Japanese, and Korean.
yeah. Great choices there. Lots to learn.
Yes, a lot to learn. Very delicate, very versatile. I am intrigued with, Jesse Ito really inspired me.
Yeah.
I really want to learn more about Japanese food. It's so clean, it's so elegant. And Vietnamese, it seemed like very close, similar, but it's very different. And Korean always have my heart.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Last one, your favorite sandwich?
Can I say burger? I don't eat sandwich.
A burger is maybe a sandwich, not a sandwich, kind of a
Not
sandwich.
a sandwich, yes. So burger, again, that me and Yas collaborate because I will fry the bacon. Yas will grind the grass-fed beer steak that we got from farmer's market, and she will make either focaccia or a brioche bun. Everything is homemade.
Focaccia burger, bold
Yes.
choice. I'm into it.
Yes, and we grill our burger over the charcoal grill. And the minute that it is done, we all sit down together. We just shout out, and then we have some pavlova, and and we have, the whole neighborhood there for that. That's our block party.
I feel like a Kalaya burger concept has just been born. You running a burger restaurant, or maybe not just now, maybe like a while ago. You would do it. You would maybe do it.
Maybe I find a new calling. Nok's Burger.
Listen, Kalaya Burger, Knox Burger, both of those, I love that. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thank you. And you have to come for the burger.
Caroline Choe, welcome to This Is Taste. It's so great to see you.
So great to see you. How are you?
I'm really great. And I'm excited about Banchan, your book.
Thank you.
Because, I've written a couple Korean cookbooks with my buddy Dookie Hong, and a book about Banchan is not easy, and you've really executed and delivered such a amazing book. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's a labor of love.
Well, of course, cookbooks are, but I think everyone should go out and check it out. We'll get more into the book, but first, Caroline, I like to ask, where are you dining out in New York right now? What's good?
I was actually thinking about this because, full disclosure, in the last 4 years since we all went into lockdown, I kind of fell off the map with checking out a lot of the new places because a lot of our old places that we loved had closed. Now that we've kind of gotten back into the swing of things, I will say, if I'm going to venture all the way down into the city from like tippy top of the Bronx, it's basically like I love, love, love Golden Diner. I will travel to Chinatown for my happiness down there. with their honey butter pancakes. I don't think my doctor's listening right now, so that's okay. But then, like, there's my husband and I will split one of their Katsu Club sandwiches.
So great. And they're opening in Midtown soon.
I know, so it
Good for
won't
them.
be too far of a trip. But then I go from there to You and Me and go hang out with Lucy and the crew over there. But also, I love Pave in Midtown. Speaking
Yeah.
of Midtown, my buddy, my childhood buddy, actually, Jin An, he's a co-owner over there, and I love first of all, love that they're right next to Grand Central, and secondly, that the food, the pastry that they make, and just everything's fresh, delicious. I will probably eat more jambon beurres than I probably should, but it's amazing. And is there? I like. I'm older now, so I don't feel quite as much pressure.
Those are great, great picks, and I love that you mentioned jambon beurre because, like, underrated sandwich for sure.
It's so simple.
It's so simple.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of simplicity or not, Banchan, Banchan, pronounced Banchan typically, I would say.
Banchan, yeah.
What is it to you?
What is it to me? It's it's a very broad question. Well, so this is the food that, completes, in my opinion, is very much the completion of a Korean meal or any family meal in general. It's basically, when I'm describing it to anybody, it's the small dishes that are on the table to accompany your main dish or your rice. And that to me is, in itself very definitive. At the same time, it is very historical beyond anything, any of us have lived. It goes way, way back. It has its own, it's part of survival, but it's also part of culture. And it's also just, has contents of it being with fermented, fresh, and also braised, and also just the small dishes that you can share.
So I want to zoom out a little bit more. Great definition. I think it's really clear that if you've gone to Korean restaurants, it's traditionally the small plates that arrive before the meal. But what you're doing with this book in 60 recipes is you're expanding that universe beyond namu kimchi and like a garamjim, like a bubbling egg, like those are the ones we typically think about with barbecue meals. But for you, you've like gone, there's like chiges, there's tongs, there's like all sorts of cool stuff. How did you think about the recipes when you were going over that initially?
So, that's the greatest thing is that in this, there's a bunch of recipes that are not, considerably, in quotes, I would say, typical Banchan dishes. But it does help answer some of the questions that people had of what is on the table at these restaurants that they go to. How many times I've been asked, like, what jigas are and what's in it, and can I make this at home? And the thing is, it's still served as a small dish sometimes. And I had the pleasure of meeting Mangchi actually this past year, and I got a chance to talk to her. And for those of you who don't know who Mangchi is, she's like the godmother of like YouTube cooking for Korean food. And even she was saying, like, for the atypical dishes that, people would classify as banchan, she's like, if you serve it small, it's still considered a small dish and it can be shared with everybody. So, you kind of had the opportunity to answer a bunch of questions. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And that's so I do put like in the intro, I make sure that I cover my ass basically. And I'm like, just letting you know, yes, I know that this is not considerably banchan traditionally, but this is how you can serve it, and this also can go with your meal.
I mean, I think the key is that you call it Korean American banchan, which is such an important facet. It's not a like uber traditional baekbang style like royal court banchan, though you have some recipes that are that.
Yeah.
But you also have like a lot of creativity. What did the Korean American kind of tag early on allow you to do?
So thanks for asking, actually. So I did a cooking demo where I was my first time on Microsoft Teams, and I did not know that I would be able to see the comments as they came up, because on Zoom, you see them in the box. This time I was just flashed up on the screen, and it just said, I know that this isn't really Korean food. And And I just went, well, duh, did you read the title? And the thing is that when this book was presented to me to write from Chronicle, and there was a lot of pressure that I felt because I said, I knew the Korean books on the market. I had studied them endlessly. And though it's growing still, I was like, the Korean American genre of food is still something that's still being gatekept, in my opinion, or even Korean food in general is still kind of, being guarded.
In what way do you mean?
I think that a lot of people have for many years, I want to say, probably just not been maybe satisfied with a lot of what they've seen in introduction to Korean food or how they can prepare it at home. But that's it comes with a lot of, their pain, so to speak, on the subject. But that's where my encouragement to them is that's why we need more people saying these things and telling their stories about food. This is just my story. This is my Korean American story. And this is how I grew up. I grew up here in New York and, with whatever was available. And my parents actually, when they first came to the States in 1973, they didn't have kimchi as available right now as they do. And their alternative was sauerkraut and hot sauce.
Yep.
So it really is just being resourceful, but also with what you grew up with.
How does it make you feel when somebody, while you're providing a demonstration for free, says that you're not cooking Korean food to your face, essentially? How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's not something I'm not used to at this point, if I'm being frank. I'm going to be honest about this. I feel like a lot of people come after me more so than they go after, and not by just me. I mean, a lot of women seem to get a lot of flack from the women I've spoken to, that it's not Korean food and why don't you do this and why don't you do it this way? And I'm like, well, did you know that pepperoni isn't actually, native to Italy? And yet here we are eating pepperoni pizza and defining it with pizza, as if it's, pretty much just of origin. And I'm like, you know what? Again, people I think like to be critical just because it makes them feel special.
Yeah, good. Yeah, let's leave it there. I mean, I think it's horseshit. It's utter horseshit for people to tell you that you're not cooking. You're cooking Korean food. It's amazing. I love what you're doing with this book, and many people should pick it up. What are some elements that I think people will be surprised pleasantly by this book who maybe have picked up other Korean cookbooks?
So I think some people are going to be expecting it to be, because some of the reaction that I've gotten so far has been that, oh, is this Korean food? I'm like, well, it's Korean American food. I kind of have to reiterate because I was like, your expectation is to see, something that is, is this actually authentically Korean? That word is such a crazy buzzword that I have to start asking people, do you actually know what that means? But this is authentically my family. This is authentically my clients. This is authentically my students who have wanted to learn how to cook with Korean dishes and with what's available essentially in America. So I think some people might be surprised by, I didn't know I could do this. On a pro side, I didn't know I could make a quiche with.
Let's get into that. I like
Yeah.
that. You're teaching a cooking class, and a whole group comes in who've never cooked Korean food, for example.
Right.
What are you starting with? I'm really curious about what your first introductory would be.
So, I mean, I don't typically go into my classes teaching Korean food, although a lot of people, of course, ask, do you?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could go back a little further, when Chronicle came to me with the book idea, I kind of had to tell them, yeah, I can do Korean American Banchan. Is that okay with you? And they were game. They were like, okay, let's do it. So it is a lot of stuff that is traditionally, like you were saying, of my parents teaching me how to make these dishes, but then it's how to redistribute. So if I were to teach a class, and I have taught my students with using kimchi, mostly because now, again, kimchi's become, almost like gold, basically, in your kitchen. But the first recipe I ever taught to anyone through any recipes I'd published was kimchi mac and cheese. And I remember testing this out with clients, but also in cooking gatherings and also when I went to go cater to see how it would go. And it just emptied like very quickly
Yeah.
because people are realizing funky and funky go together.
Yep.
And it's not just cheese that goes with your, fermented vegetables, but also like how many of us have, dipped like kimbap into batter and fried it the next day to
Such an
revive
ace
it.
move. I love that move.
Yeah, and panchan just goes right into the kimbap. And so again, it's just a lot of people with a lot of questions and interest, which is great. And so that's the more positive side. So for all the haters out there, there's a lot of people who want to learn on the pro side of things.
Let's talk about tenjin jjigae. It's my favorite dish, and I want to get your point of view on it. I think it's a cool recipe. What is up with your tenjin jjigae?
What's up with mine? So truth, I didn't know really how to make it until about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was because if I have to choose a jjigae, my jjigae is kimchi jjigae.
Yeah, you said that. You read about it in the head note.
Mm-hmm.
All good.
It was and doenjang jjigae, it's just, again, to take things that, when you would ask before about, what will surprise people who pick up the book for the first time, the simplicity of how things are made. I'm like, it's not going to take 10 years for you to make this. It's literally just throwing a lot of things in here. If you want to, hit your little twist on it, saute up your vegetables and then put it in, that's another thing you can do. I'm like, but it really is just simple, classic, very easy to make, and it will educate you and expand your palate.
Walk us through that recipe a little bit. I'd love to get a sense.
Honestly, I was like, you have your doenjang, your zucchini, which you just cut into half moons, and then just like it doesn't get any easier than that. It's just the water, and then you have your tubu and all these other. It's just that. Yeah. That's it. And the flavor just takes on a life of its own.
Agree fully. It's such a good dish. Okay, so jorum braising. It's a big part of like banchan, right? There's like so many dishes. Talk about how you think about cooking jorums.
Torim is one of those things where I'll be honest, if I have to choose between the three, I do pick the vegetables.
Yeah.
But in terms of torim, actually, for my dad, this was more his kind of forte in educating me on how, because it's salty, it's sweet and spicy of a dish, but it's also homeliness at the same, home.
It's a braise. You think of it like in Europe, in America, braising feels like comforting in a way.
Yeah. I think I just misused the word homely, but yeah.
I don't. I think I often misuse that word. Yes. It's home oriented. Homely is like a little like
home.
There you go. You fixed it. There you go.
There you go. Eric Kim, shout out to you.
Yeah.
But so honestly, torim just gives you that the scent. Even if you smell it from the kitchen, you know what's going on in there. It's just the mix of scallions and soy sauce and some, 참기름, some sesame seed, sesame oil, and just some 고춧가루. It's very simplistic, but I will tell you a quick story. When I was asking my dad for his torim recipe for fish, and in the book it's cod, and he kept calling me back. This was the story with my dad in writing this book. He just kept calling and calling and calling. This was like his retirement project almost in a way. And he would say, he's like, did I say to use the cod head? You have to use the cod neck. I'm like, okay, yes, I wrote it in. It's okay. But then for me, I had in my head, I was like, you got to cut it. I was like, I like cutting it up. Yeah. And he doesn't. So torim is just one of those methods in which it's just, I think, goes back to like maybe the 18th century, if I have it accurately. I think it was availability and also just how to make something so flavorful with minimal ingredients.
And dubu jorum is probably my favorite too.
Yes.
It's just like tofu dubu, braised, sometimes crisps up in the pan at the end.
Torim. I didn't put beltfish in the book, sorry guys, but you can do that too. It's delicious.
A good one.
Yeah.
Asian pear season is upon us, and you write, colorfully about this beautiful product. But I always struggle finding the best ones, H Mart or wherever it may be. How do you spot a good Asian pear, and what are you doing with it?
For me, it's firmness.
Cool.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll get one that has been sitting there for a while, and you can tell by touching it, it has a bit of a softness to it. If anyone, if you know, you used to get those big boxes as gifts from like
Yeah.
people, and they're just packed with like 24 pairs basically, and my mother, who loves, in my opinion, loves my husband more than me, will give him like 10 to take home. And, there's an interesting contrast between, the Asian pears that you get from the Korean markets, and then there's the ones that you'll pick like in orchards in the States. That was my hugest like exposure to how Asian pears were grown in the States because they're about the size of a tennis ball, I
Yeah.
would say. And they were much greener in hue and also just it didn't look like the golden pear that you get from the market, basically.
But they're smaller and sweeter in
They're
some ways.
smaller. Yeah. I mean, again, sweet things come in small packages.
Yeah.
I would know. But it's in the end, it's one of those things where I'm like, just feel the firmness. Do you know how it tastes until you open it? I'm sure, to be honest, not really. But that's because we had so many freaking softball-sized pears. That was where that recipe came in for Asian pear scallion kimchi. And it was a sweet contrast, again, sweet contrast with a sour contrast and a spicy contrast.
Let's talk about creamy kimchi bacon dip.
Yay.
It like really speaks to me, and I agree that kimchi and bacon are like bedfellows. It's like the great. We had a bokkeumbap that we put with bacon as well, and like I love that you're doing it in dip form.
Yeah.
Can't wait to cook this.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So this is actually the cold version. When it was first developed, it was a hot version. And I personally like, because how people get educated on using kimchi or something that they're not as familiar with. I got a question once about they tried to make kimchi mac and cheese, and they said, but my my cheese separated from
Oh yeah.
the kimchi. And I said, that's going to happen. And they said, why? So for me, when I'm using dairy and kimchi together, I always saute it first to get out the excess juices and kind of concentrate the flavors. And then I wanted to basically kind of make like a play on ranch, I guess, like American ranch dip. And so then I, put that together into that and served warm. It was actually fantastic. But then there's leftovers, and then it's just kind of like, so to serve it cold as a thinner kind of dip that you can serve at parties. Yeah, that's how that came about. And bacon, for God's sakes, it's just I admit I'm not the hugest bacon person.
Yeah.
But I do love the smell, do love the taste. I like it cooked a certain way. But in this dip, it kind of just, if you let it sit for just a few hours to settle and marry with each other, the taste was just like I put it in the leftovers in my salad. It was that good.
It's a great point about how going from hot to cold with kind of this marriage of flavors. Hot can be extremely good, like right out of the pan, but then let it marry, let it mingle. You can talk about kimchi jjigae too.
Yeah.
Like if you have any left over, that next day is pretty great.
Yeah.
Reconstitute a little bit of stock or water.
Yeah, it kind of just takes on, again, it's just like people learning how to, have it with, your rice at the end of the day or just the next day even. And it's like, what can I do with this? I'm like, I hope that people learn from this book that the rules are not, I mean, there is a way to honor Korean food and foods of the origins that you love and you own. But at the same time, I grew up here. This is how we ate our leftovers and our food. So
I'm really into you featuring miso soup in a Korean cookbook because I think you recognize something that I've not read in any Korean cookbook, that miso soup, while clearly Japanese, falls in the Korean food world in a special place. And I'd like to get a sense of why include miso soup in a Korean cookbook and why does it work so well and why do you love it?
So my dad makes, in my opinion, the best miso soup in my life. And we grew up having it in my house. So again, it's the story of my family, what we ate in my house. And, my mother and my father are both post-occupation children. There is a lot of influence of the Japanese colonization still in a decent amount of Korean food. And but also it's, I don't want to say ownership, but I will say this is just a recipe that just did well in the people that I served it to. So it's tomato, potato, miso soup.
It's very cool.
And
Talk it through.
And it honestly is just, it gives a warm hug of a feeling. That's basically what my dad's soup is, miso soup. You can make, your doenjanjjigae with the other fermentation of soybean paste. That's another variation you can do. But miso paste is pretty readily available in my parents' house, in my house. My father, we're still trying to, for a retirement trip, we're trying him to actually go to Japan so that he said all he wants to do is eat.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll do it with you, So again, it's the enjoyment now of having it in my household.
Yeah, I like splitting the difference between tenjan and miso and negotiating it and like delicately and artfully swapping them in for each other, but also recognizing occupation, words like that, how Japan and Korea have a really tumultuous relationship, to say the least. And the fact that you can openly write about it and create recipes without it being, I would say, without it being, like, without overshadowing the actual culinary properties is very tricky, and you've done a great job there.
I mean, there might be folks who still have a lot to say about it, but there are chefs out there who are Korean who also feel me on this, that they grew up with grandparents who made Japanese food for them growing up. And it, we're enjoying each other's food now in present day, but do you forgive and forget? For a lot of folks, it's not for me to say. It's just, this is where I'm at, and this is how, I'm going to try to create my story from this.
Yeah, really, really great point. And also just add, if you go out in the world, a lot of Japanese restaurants, sushi bars are owned by Koreans,
right?
Throughout the country, in many parts of the country, and so there's definitely that link.
Yeah, there's a lot of, again, you would have to ask them why.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's their why, and I can't speak for them, but I will say that's come up, and it was a question of why to include the soup. But there's a mushroom miso soup variation also, and again, this is just from my house and my kitchen.
No, it's very honest, and I really appreciate it.
I will. But to add to that point, Von Diaz actually had said this while people had asked her all the time when she wrote Coconuts and Collards. Great book, by the way.
Yeah.
Is your food considered Puerto Rican? And she said, it's from my kitchen, and I made it, so yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I said, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caroline, it's Korean American food from your kitchen.
Yes.
One more recipe I want to go over, and then we'll zoom out a bit to close. Hot honey crispy tofu. Bravo.
Oh.
Like, I've never thought about that combination. I've never seen it. It works seemingly really well. I've not made it, but what a cool dish.
It was, I can't take entire credit for it. I'm sure there's restaurants out there that have, done, they're trying to do the hot honey, vegan hot honey.
Yeah.
And that was, I needed, and bravo also to Joanne Molinaro, who is also kind of pushing forward the whole vegan food doesn't have to be a certain way, and Korean dishes that are traditionally a certain way. She's veganizing everything. For me, it was also, I had vegan clients and vegan students, and they wanted to know more about cooking tofu. And this was my way of kind of my development of the recipe of just making a vegan hot honey tofu. I tested it on all my vegetarian and vegan friends, and was just, it is, it's not too unfamiliar to Korean food, except for, of course, like the ingredients, like agave nectar is in there. But it tested really well. They loved it. And in truth, like hot honey chicken in general. And I was like, I prefer, not to have the hot honey sauce. And I know I'm a heathen for saying it. But,
no, I'm with you.
But yeah, it's
overrated.
Hot honey tofu. I was like, it was something that was really favored by those who wanted to try it. And it was firm tofu and frying it and then putting, the sauce on it. And, kotsukare is awesome. I personally
Yeah, well, while I think hot honey chicken might be overrated, I think putting it in a dubujurum is incredible, and it really, for a plant-based main, having it there, I think the sweetness and the spice really lends to an American audience.
Yeah, having it with I gotta tell you, having it with your rice and the rest of your banchan on the table, it does make things quite tasty.
So your book is Banchan, but I think over the course of this chat, it's obvious that there's very much a main dish focus in some of these recipes, main dish energy, so to speak.
So that was a discussion. So to clarify, there was an actual page that is not included in the final product of the book, because the questions had come up of, how can we teach people how to redistribute banchan into main dishes or redistribute it in general. And I had this whole page written out about putting it in hot dogs and, putting it on hot dogs, putting it on pizza, which there is a pizza recipe in the book. How to include it in your everyday eating. And though it wasn't intentional, it ended up kind of becoming like kimbap in general is not considered a banchan dish,
Right.
but banchan is in it. Bibimbap, what is it defined as? Banchan is in bibimbap. It's all the leftovers you had from the day before. So this kind of fell into that category, but also with Korean American food. And so, it was just this is not a lie. This is how, I've had to redistribute my banchan in my house. And so I'm hoping it'll encourage people. Well, it's not completely hopeless if you have all this left over.
Definitely not. It's a new dish. And I followed that thread just picking up the book and reading it. So I want to zoom out to close. Where do you see Korean food moving over the next 5 years in New York City, specifically a city that you've lived your whole life? I'd love to get your sense. I have thoughts as well.
So I had to ask my parents that actually
Love that.
First because
appreciate you asking them.
In the many discussions we have where we disagree, this is the one thing that we can talk about without arguing. So I will say for them, it's a wonder that it's come as far as it has to see kimchi available in Whole Foods and also just, and shout out to all the people who have made that happen. Hi, Kidim. And, but also I think personally in 5 years, because you see where it's come now and the power that it's kind of encompassing and almost building up this potential energy. My advice to everybody, start paying attention to the women because the women are the ones who taught them how to cook. The women are the people who gave the recipes to their sons who went on to prosper and in this industry that's growing so wonderfully. But also, women are amazing at their ideas getting executed and how to best do that. And I hope if people pay attention more to chefs like Esther Choe, Rachel Young, to Beverly Kim in Chicago.
Unjo Park.
Yes.
Unjo.
I was like, my girl, I'm just saying, like, the ladies are leading the way and no one seems to be giving them half the love and attention that the men are getting. No offense to my bros. You're doing your thing as well and you're pushing it forward. But in 5 years, if we just did that and paid more attention to what us women are doing and trying to say, and a lot of this is still rooted in misogyny in our culture, it's just unfortunately the case. But pay attention to what they're doing because they are going to push the envelope forward.
I really appreciate that. It's an incredible statement, and you're right. And I fully believe that the future starts with a female chef core in Korean American food. And I think of Ji-hae Kim from Ann Arbor, from Miss Kim.
Yes.
Just
oh my gosh.
one of the most talented chefs in America writ large. And
we're out there. We're out there doing it. I think just, again, Lulu Wang, the filmmaker, had said it. She goes, women they just need the job. She's like, women just need the job. And it's not just looking to us for our ideas. It's looking for us to do the job and give us the money, too, for that job.
Caroline, and this is Taste. We ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
I am.
The best fruit.
Apples and pears. I can't choose just one.
You can't choose. Okay, so if you were to blend apples and pears, what are you doing?
I will have a ginger gold apple. It kind of has a perry aftertaste.
Love that.
Yeah. Or a mutsu.
The worst vegetable.
I really hate fennel. I hate fennel. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'm not a licorice kind of girl.
No, my wife Tamar agrees with you fully. It's her arch enemy.
Anyway.
The best dessert.
Île flottant.
Okay.
For those who don't know what île flottant is, it is a crème anglaise with floating meringues in there with praline on top. I love it. I will have it wherever it's served.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, then can't go wrong with cake and ice cream.
You cannot. Your favorite American fast food chain?
Shake Shack. And how they treat their workers is great. Yeah.
Your favorite Korean restaurant, full stop?
Can't tell you that.
No? You can't go there?
Well, I don't want everyone going
A
there.
favorite? Oh, you got it.
I'll tell you this. I'll go here. Does it have to, if it's not specifically Korean, but
Sure.
there's a restaurant in Honolulu, which was next to my Airbnb, Diamond Head Grill. They serve kalbi that tastes exactly like my dad's.
Oh, cool.
And that to me I was many, many miles from home. And that is exactly what that made it my favorite.
Diamond Head Grill Kalbi. Oh my God, on the beach.
Mm-hmm. It was like, you can bring it to the beach, but to me, it was perfect.
A Korean restaurant you wish existed in New York?
Supultip from LA because of we started phasing out a lot of the charcoal usage. That restaurant the meat was amazing. They were amazing to us. I kind of wish that was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like whole fire barbecue is hard to find. And I wish there was more of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Your favorite cookbook of all time?
I have, can I name 3?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Little Paris Kitchen by Rachel Koo. And what was it? Pretend Soup by Molly Katzen. I used it in my classroom a lot.
Yeah.
And that was, I love a good illustrated cookbook.
Yeah.
That's it. But my all-time favorite was my first cookbook that I was ever given when I was 7 years old by my friend Liz. And it was Kids Cooking, a Very Messy Manual. And it was written by Klutz Press. You cannot get it anywhere now. It's out of print. But it came with tablespoons. And
Oh, so cute.
it was my all-time favorite cookbook. Yeah.
A favorite recent cookbook discovery?
All the Asian American ones. Seriously, they're killing it. Everybody who has written one, Tuki, shout out to you too. But I will say the ones that I can say, it's been really wonderful to see everything everyone's been cranking out, and I'm hoping that it just continues to change the game.
You're here to that. I love your sentiment.
Yeah.
Your favorite city outside America to visit for food?
I still have to conquer Asia, but Barcelona, Rome, Paris.
Oh, great selection. Love
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Last one, your favorite sandwich?
Thanksgiving leftovers.
Oh my
Something to look forward to every year.
Oh my
really.
gosh. Okay, so let's take us through it. We're approaching the Thanksgiving season.
Yep. My favorite.
How do you do it?
So my family is not big on turkey, but how I make it, they'll eat it. I brine the turkey the day, in a lot of great things, but bourbon is also in there.
Yeah, good.
And so
I've done
then
it.
basically it tenderizes, but then when it roasts, I break it up like you would pulled pork, basically. And I also let it sit in its juices
Yep.
for a day. And then you just warm it up the next day. It's nice and juicy. So after the meal is up and I have whatever's left over that's been bagged by my cousin Elaine, it's turkey. Warmed up in gravy. You put that in the microwave so it's nice and saturated. And I put some kimchi mac and cheese on there, or if I have kimchi mashed potatoes, whichever my family wanted that year. And then putting regular mac and cheese on it. And then just it has to be on either something sturdy like a Kaiser roll or these awesome ciabatta rolls that are over at Zabar's.
Yeah.
And that to me is perfect. I'm not the biggest on cranberry sauce, but if we do have a little, I'll throw that in there.
Oh my God, I'm like thinking kimchi mac and cheese for this Thanksgiving.
Go
holiday
for it.
season.
Yes.
From your book, Banchan.
Mm-hmm.
What
And put as much as you want in it, by the way. There's a small amount in the recipe, but put as much as you want.
I mean, obviously you put more.
Yes, I put more.
I put more. You put more garlic. You put more kimchi in your
This
recipes.
was beginner friendly.
Who's putting 1 clove of garlic in anything? Stop. Yeah, exactly. That
Whoever
face
you are, your
says-
ears are burning.
Your ears are burning. Caroline Choe, thank you so much for joining This Is
you.
Taste.
Yes, thank you for having me.
This Is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.